What's up, everybody? It's PJ here with the SRNA drip, and today we're going to talk about your GPA and why it counts, why it matters for CRNA school. Let's get into it. Okay, so you've researched your school, you've looked at the minimum requirements needed, and you see that they only require a 3.0 GPA. And you say, yes, I got a 3.0, I'm about to get in this school. Don't count on it. You don't want to be a minimal required type of applicant. You want to be the most competitive applicant that you can be. Now, in terms of the GPA, although the school says, we'll take a minimum GPA of 3.0, that is going to be dependent on the application pool for that batch of applications. So for example, if school A says our minimum requirement is a 3.0, we interview 66 applicants and we have a total of 250 applicants. Out of those 250 applicants, if the average GPA is a 3.5 and you have a 3.0, you might not make it into those 66 slots for the interview. So baby sis, nephew, you need to get back to the drawing board and figure out how to boost that GPA up. Now, granted, that's only one part of the total package, but it's very important. So keep that in mind, that the GPA, although the schools have a minimum recommendation for GPA, you're definitely gonna wanna shoot for higher. And in the next couple of videos, I want you guys to realize that the minimum requirements are just something that the school has to have. And typically you're going to have to raise the bar much higher than just what's minimally required in order to be a competitive applicant. So that's just a heads up for the next couple of videos that I'll have out. The schools for their GPA may consider your cumulative GPA as the most important, or they may consider the science GPA the most important, or they may say, we only care about the last 60 credit GPA, and they may consider that the most important. So it's your job to make sure that you know which GPA the schools consider the most important. Some schools may tell you, some schools may not. They just might say GPA in general. So, but I would advise you to look at your transcripts and figure out what your GPA is for each one of those categories. Your last 60 credit hours GPA, your cumulative GPA, and your science GPA. And map out which schools would probably fit best for what you have. In my case, my school that I got accepted to was really heavy on science GPA. They said it in the virtual session that I attended over the phone that, honestly, we just want to make sure that your science grades are up to par and that you can handle the science curriculum that is in the program, because it's very science-based. So they were saying that, even though the nursing GPA is important and, we do care what you got in nursing school, we really care about what your science grades are looking like. So luckily, I had all A's in my sciences, so I had a 4.0 for my science GPA. Another school that I interviewed for, on their website, they had that they considered the last 60 credit hour GPA as important, and then the sciences were also important as well, and then your statistics. And they may throw statistics in there as part of the science GPA. Some schools don't, so it all depends on the school, but you have to do your research. Just make sure that you know what your GPA is, and it's not a guesstimation. You know how you did in your science classes. And like I always say, you need to embrace, if you did bad in a science class, you need to embrace that, because there's no workaround. There's no excuse for it. They're not gonna wanna hear, I was going through a rough time when I took anatomy and physiology and I got a C or I got a D. And if you got a D, you shouldn't even be, don't even try it with a D. But yeah, they don't want to hear that. So if you know where your faults lie, you need to work on those in order to bring them up to be a competitive applicant. Before you take any extra classes to either boost your GPA or just to have more on your resume or your transcript, I should say, apply with what you have. I didn't take anything extra. I was not going to take anything extra unless I truly needed it, because that was more money wasted, that was more time wasted, and I just was not having it. It may take a couple of extra applications, but if you don't have to waste 4 months in class taking an extra class that you're not even sure is gonna help you, just apply and see what happens. You may get a yes. All it takes is one yes. And I'm gonna keep saying it. All it takes is one yes. Apply with what you have. If that doesn't work out, then kind of reevaluate, talk to the schools and see what you can do in order to make yourself more competitive for the next time around. And it may not even be your GPA that needs to be worked on. It may that they want you to get experience in a level 1 facility and not a community hospital. Or it may be that, they weren't too impressed with your communication skills during your interview, or your writing skills during your essay. So it may not just be your GPA. So make sure you apply with what you have first. And then if that doesn't work out, then go back to the drawing board and figure out what your next step should be. The best way to ensure a good GPA is to keep a good GPA. Do not let your GPA falter during your undergrad experience, during your prerequisites, because you want to be on campus and you want to be live and you want to party and do all of that. If you really have a plan to go to CRNA school and you have it that early on, typically you're probably going to be focused anyway and you don't have to worry about that issue. But if you're deciding like, I'm not sure if I want to, go down that path, protect your GPA, because when you do realize that that's what you want to do and you look back, you're going to be like, dang, I should have listened to PJ. That's what I should have. I should listen to PJ and just kept my GPA high to begin with. Now I got to take all these extra classes to get only 0.2 higher of a GPA. Should have listened. Make sure you listen to me. Listen to me. Listen. Anyways, y'all still not gonna listen. So realize that the GPA is only one component of your application, but it is very important. So you need to do your research to figure out exactly what that school requires, and make sure that you are above the minimum requirement. And with that being said, I'm out.